Good morning and welcome. My name is Gareth. I am with Lekker Wine Tours. We do experience-based tasting tours in and around East Texas. Today we are at Enoch Stomp. We're in the beautiful tasting room. I am with one of the wine ambassadors and the wine director recently, Raney, and we're going to do something today which I think is going to help a lot of people demystify the wine tasting itself, how to taste properly, how to get the most out of the glass of wine. So if you don't mind, Raney, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm the wine director. I not only do all of the wine directing things as far as tours and tastings, helping organize deductive classes and educate people on wine. I'm also kind of like part of the management team here, so we wear many hats. We're a family-owned and operated business, so anything from making pizzas to washing dishes to helping with tours and tastings, that's kind of all falls under that umbrella. But I've been with Enoch for I think about a little over 4 years.
Okay.
And then fun fact, Altus is my father-in-law. So,
and recently.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So today what I was hoping you would help us with is to teach us how to taste wine properly, and also what's important and what's a bit stuffy and over exaggerated sometimes, I think, which makes wine tasting not as fun, I don't think.
Yeah. So to start with wine tasting, one of the first things, I'll pour us a little wine here.
Please.
So we can.
What are we tasting quickly?
See, this is our Syrah. It's a Washington Syrah. It's something we have not yet released, and I chose this wine specifically for this. But one of the first things you do whenever you taste wine, and you see people do this when they evaluate wines professionally, and sometimes you see people do it at a restaurant table when they order a nice bottle of wine and the server serves it and pours it. A lot of times the first thing you want to do is you'll pick it up and you kind of evaluate the color. So when you do that, you want to tilt the wine away from you. Ideally, you would like to have a light background so that you can see what color the wine is. And the reason I chose this wine is because it is a perfect color for what this wine should be. Although we don't have a white background, you can still see this is a very concentrated, dark color. And that's typical of Syrahs. Syrahs are going to have a very purple and rich and concentrated color. A lot of times you can't even see through them. So when you're evaluating the color, those are things that you're looking for. You're looking to make sure that that color is on par with that varietal. That's going to tell you, if the wine was made correctly, hopefully. And then you're going to look at the rim on the outside of the color there, and that'll tell you how old the wine is. So the more it's orange, it's an older vintage. It can also mean a few other things, like the wine's been oxidized and things of that sort. But yeah, color's your first step for evaluation.
All right.
You want me to keep going?
Color on this. Absolutely, yeah.
All right, so then the next thing, and it's kind of a natural thing if you drink wine, if you don't drink wine, you see people do this, and it's something you should just get down. If you can swirl your wine, you'll automatically look like a pro. So swirling your wine does a lot of things. It gets the ambient oxygen from the room into your glass, and it releases all of those wonderful aromas. And just by swirling those few seconds here, I can already smell the wine all the way from back here. But that just helps open your wine up. It helps it taste better.
One of the things that the way that I learned to swirl is if you put it on a table, and you may not be able to see it, and hold it like a pencil, and do those small circles on the table with like you're holding a pencil.
Right.
Before you pick it up, you're going to get that same consistent big circles in the glass. And you're not shaking it around. Yeah,
and oftentimes with tastings, especially people that are new to wine tasting, that's one of the basic things that we teach is the swirl. And it's very funny to watch because at first kind of, people put it down and it moves like this. And then sometimes I'll even guide them and, you get that little swirl. And then by the time they leave, it's addicting. You just see that you're sitting there watching them and they're just
that light bulb goes off.
Their wine.
Yeah,
yep.
I love it.
But yes, swirling is very important because it just releases all of those aromas. So when you get to the nose and the smelling of the wine, you can really tell or it can lead you in directions as to what your wine's going to taste like, because your smell is 90% of what you taste on your palate. So it's very important.
I've also heard at this point where we want to let it breathe. What exactly does that mean?
Breathing is really important in red wines. And again, it's just letting that ambient oxygen from the room get into the wine. It can release any of those like residual smells you may get from an older wine that's been bottled for a long time. Sometimes if wines, may have VA or anything like that, it can kind of relieve all of that stuff. And the longer the wine breathes and sits, the more complex, a lot of times the more you can get out of smelling the wine. And it's just, it gets really scientific, and I'm not necessarily a scientist, so but it does help for sure in terms of taste and aroma.
The takeaway is, if you're having a nice meal, is pour the glass of wine and then just let it sit while you're chatting, while you're waiting on your meal.
If you have that willpower, absolutely.
And you can, and you're going to get. What I also will do is take a sip and then wait 15 minutes, take another. You're going to start tasting those changes as the oxygen
for sure.
starts to
That's
develop.
one of my favorite things to do whenever we taste wines. We'll do tastings where we compare a whole bunch of different wines together. And rarely ever do I drink everything in my glass, because I love to let it sit, because I may smell this wine and say that doesn't really smell like a Syrah should, but then in 20 minutes when I come back to it, I can say, or smell it again, and I'm like, that is straight up blueberry and milk chocolate, a little bit of pepper. It smells exactly like a Syrah is supposed to smell. And it's just from letting it sit and giving it time to open up and breathe and be what it's supposed to be.
So you spoke about how the smell of it is 90% of the experience. I'm assuming that's our next step, is really kind of get it all into the senses.
Yeah, so it's very important to smell your wine before you drink it, because like we discussed, smell is most of what you taste. Same thing with food. If you want that food to smell really good, it's gonna kind of excite your brain, and what you're smelling is what's going to translate onto your palate. If you can't smell and you taste something, it's going to taste completely different than whenever you can smell. And you can experience that sometimes, especially during allergy season when your nose is stopped up. When you can't smell a wine, it's very hard to figure out what you have. It's not that great. So yes, smelling is very, very important. And it's really important because if you taste it before you smell it, it messes everything up. You can't go back to that initial smell. You've kind of already,
that's a good point.
Gotten past that. But yes, smelling it, you want to start at the top of the glass. A lot of those aromas are going to kind of rise up, and the alcohol smell is going to sink to the bottom of the glass. So when you smell from here versus here, you're going to get a completely different smell. But it is important to smell all angles of your glass to really get into that wine, and
which, quick little side note, is why these glasses are designed the way they are, is to really kind of focus those aromas out the end of the glass.
Correct. But yes, smelling, and when you smell, typically what we try to do is you want to look for a few different things in the wine. You want to try to identify 2 or 3 different fruits. Are they in a red wine, are they red fruits, blue fruits, or black fruits? And then you can go as far to say, like, do they smell tart? Are they ripe? Are they baked? Sometimes, cabs, you'll get a really nice cab and it smells like baked cherries, and it's delicious. With this particular wine, a Syrah, the things you should get are blueberries. That's a very prominent smell as far as fruit goes in Syrah. And whenever you can kind of pinpoint what fruit you're smelling, that will lead you in the direction as to what wine it could be. So when you smell blue fruits, you're thinking maybe Syrah. If you're thinking like blue and black fruits, it could be a Malbec. When you're lean more red, raspberries and cherries, maybe you're on a Pinot Noir, you could be on a Sangiovese. So it's important, and that all comes with lots and lots of practice.
Hours
but yes, mainly, if you're not that into it and you just want to enjoy your glass of wine, smell is very important, because the things you smell are going to translate onto your palate. So that helps you enjoy your wine even more.
And I think what's also very interesting is when some of the newcomers to wine start smelling and they get these kind of off-the-wall scents, and they won't matter. It's so subjective, and that's just what you smell when you're smelling this wine. It's not necessarily means that the guy next to you is going to smell that.
We all have different abilities when it comes to smelling. You have people that are super sensitive to certain things. For me, it's butter. I can,
Okay.
Chardonnay is like kind of my specialty. Like I
Right.
can pick out Chardonnay no matter how much or how little butter it has. My nose is just really sensitive to those
How
oaky
interesting.
and buttery smells. And
Yeah.
then you have other people that are really sensitive to, say, maybe like pepper notes, or I think like one of John's is like dill. He
Okay.
can pick up dill in wine, and
Okay.
that helps whenever
Yeah.
you're looking at a Tempranillo or maybe something aged in American oak. But yeah, everybody's smell is different, so it makes it
Yeah, don't be
really fun
scared
with
to
a
throw it
group
out
of
there.
people.
Right.
And honestly, we enjoy doing tastings with people that are really new to it, because they do throw out those off the wall things, and a lot of times they're not overthinking it, so they're correct.
Yeah.
And we're just like, wait.
Yeah.
No, that's important. You smell grass
Yeah.
in
Well,
that?
I
That's
like
a
that.
Sauvignon
Yeah.
Blanc. Like that means something
Right.
to us. So it's very subjective.
Yeah.
You're not,
Yeah.
you can't really be wrong.
One of the weirdest on a Sauvignon Blanc, person took a smell and said, "This smells like a newly opened can of tennis balls."
Mm-hmm. Heard it all.
Right, but
Yeah.
when I went, "What are you talking?" Oh yeah, I can
Yeah.
kind of get that. So it's
Yeah.
so cool to get everyone's kind of first initial impressions.
Heard the newly opened can of tennis balls. I've heard that. I've heard, freshly opened garden hose. I don't
Yeah.
know, like what?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
What is that even?
Yeah.
But
Right.
it makes sense
Fresh cut
sometimes.
grass. Yeah, I could get
There
it.
are sometimes I smell wines and I don't even know how to describe it. I'm just like, it smells pretty. Like I don't know how to
Right.
put that into words,
Yeah.
but that's what it smells like. But yeah,
How fun.
it's very fun too. It's
It
just,
is.
it's
Yeah. And there's no, don't be so pressured to think that there has to be a right and there's a wrong. And am I going to say the wrong thing? Just be a part of it. Enjoy
right.
it. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
And for those of us that aren't master somms, 90% of the time we are wrong. So
Yeah.
there's no pressure at all.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I've smelled it. What's
Mm-hmm.
next?
So after getting a smell, we're going to go to the best part, and that's the taste. So
Come
you
on.
take a little sip, and you want to let it coat your mouth and sit in your mouth before you swallow the wine.
Oh, that milk chocolate comes out
Mm-hmm.
a lot more.
And then, you'll kind of evaluate it from there, and you'll see, do the things that you smelled translate to your palate? Does it taste different than what you expected? So then you'll kind of run that list and say, okay, I smelled blueberries. Do I taste blueberries? And sometimes, you may taste things different on your palate than what you smelled, which can either lead you down the right road if you're doing a deductive tasting, or it can confuse you even more. But then you'll, when you switch it around, you'll evaluate like tannins, acid, body, all of those things. And if you want, we can go into tannins and acid. But really simple. Acid, just, how much does the wine make you salivate under your tongue?
Yeah.
Does it bite you in the back of your jaw? We like to say, is it flabby lemonade or is it sharp lemonade?
Okay.
And you can kind of gauge like, okay, if it's sharp lemonade, then it's higher in acidity, or it may be lower in acidity, which is important for some wines. Like Pinot Noir is very high in acidity. So if it's really high in acidity, then you may have a Pinot Noir in your glass. Tannins is the next thing. That's just the drying effect. How much does the wine dry your mouth? Does it make your gums stick to your lips? Or does it not do that at all?
Right.
So you can gauge that way. And then body is mouthfeel. So the weight of the wine on your tongue. We compare it to skim milk to whole milk. So when you drink whole milk, there's substance there. When you drink skim milk, it's more watery. So that's those are the three important things that we judge as far as taste and,
Excellent.
all of those good things. So.
And when people are here in the tasting room, are you guys doing this kind of guided tasting? Is that part of the experience? Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so we do this. We have wine ambassadors that work here, all very educated. We do deductive tastings and educational things every Wednesday with our staff. So it's something that we are constantly practicing and trying to get better about and learning about. 2 of our wine ambassadors are level 1 somms. Our third wine ambassador is currently pursuing her level 1 somm and is studying. So they're all very passionate about it. And so if you sign up for a tasting with them, a personalized tasting, you choose 6 wines and they do walk you through all of those steps. they teach you about the smelling and the swirling and the
It's so
different
much
things
fun.
that, it's not a blind tasting, but you learn a lot. And one of the best comments we've gotten recently, we had a couple come and they said, we will never drink a glass of wine and view it as we did before. Before it was just wine, but now every time we have a glass of wine, we will think of wine completely differently, and that's the goal.
Yeah,
that's the goal.
Absolutely. And I think that's, again, and I've said it before, but everyone that we've run into at Enoch is so passionate individually about wine, and it translates, whether that's the winemaker, the people that are picking the grapes, the tasters, the ambassadors, individually, just personally enjoy wine. And when you get to talk about wine with others that want to talk about wine, it's so much fun.
It's very fun.
Just the fact we're doing this for a living right now.
Yeah, no, it's for sure fun. And my favorite thing about wine, and I think I'm speaking for other people at Enoch when I say this as well, wine brings people together.
Yeah.
You put a glass of wine in somebody's hand, you stand here, you talk, you sit around a dinner table, you sit around, if you're from South Africa, you braai and drink your wine all night, and it brings people together. It doesn't matter who you are, what walk of life you come from. We see that all the time. Wine serves as a catalyst to bring people together, to take a break from all the craziness in the world. And that's one of the things that we enjoy. And each bottle of wine has a story to be told in it. There's so many different things that happen in that year, as far as climate goes. You can tell a lot of times, like, was there a drought? Did we get a lot of rain? What happened in the cellar? Who was making the wine? How many hands touched it? How many things went right? How many things went wrong? And it's so unique to be, especially when you work in a winery environment, to be able to look at a wine and you can look at the year on that wine and remember all of the things that went in and happened that year, and that ultimately translates into what's in your glass. So
excellent.
It's very unique.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I hope that I also have learned a few things, and I hope that the people that are watching take a few nuggets away and just enjoy wine at a more concentrated level. So thank you so much.
Of course.
I appreciate it.
Well, thank you guys. And I would like to add, not only do we do our tastings, but you guys come out here quite often doing your wine tours. And so if you're interested in doing tastings, you can have that, experience with Lekker and do those tastings, and not only just visit Enoch, visit multiple different wineries and get everybody's outlook on it. So that's a unique thing that you guys offer that we're proud to be part of. So
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we've really appreciated the relationship, and I think it's benefiting us both. And so that's great to be a part of. Again, like she was saying, if that is something that's interested to you, go to our website and reach out to us. We can create a custom tasting experience where we spend more time with one of the wine ambassadors, learning on an educational basis about wine tasting that is going to serve you years to come. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Like, follow, subscribe, follow us on social media. We're always throwing out new tour dates on those platforms. So we appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. Cheers.
Cheers. That's good.